Hi and welcome to this episode of the Daydream District Interview. Today it's my utmost pleasure to speak with Jonathan Hawkins, who is the creative director of the incredible Eclipse Edge of Light, the highest rated Daydream VR game ever. My name is Sebastian and this channel is called Daydream District, bringing you the latest and greatest of Daydream VR. So if this is your first time here and you would like to stay up to date about anything Daydream VR, consider to subscribe. But now, without further ado, meet the man not only responsible for Eclipse Edge of Light, but also for the God of War series. Meet Jonathan Hawkins. Today it's my utmost pleasure to say hello to Jonathan Hawkins, who is the creative director of Eclipse Edge of Light and the founder of White Elk Studios. Hi Jonathan.
Hey, how's it going?
Very, very well. It's so great to have you on the show. As you have probably found out by the review that I wrote about your game, I love Eclipse Edge of Light. It's an unbelievable game and fantastic. So thank you for making this and thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for enjoying it so much, and it was an amazing review.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So for all the viewers who have not yet heard about Eclipse Edge of Light, could you tell our viewers a bit more about this game? Could you give them a little summary what this game is about?
Sure, Eclipse Edge of Light is a first-person exploration and puzzle game with narrative elements as well. And so the player crash lands on the sentient alien planet, and they wake up to discover this alien world full of wonder, discovery, and like mystery. So throughout the course of the 3 hours of the gameplay, they start to learn about more and more about what had kind of happened on this planet. And we have a bunch of different kind of narrative tools to tell those stories through like scanning or these hologram, these kind of ghost images that appear. And so you start to puzzle solve, explore using a jetpack, and just kind of get to find yourself like being enriched and pulled into the world, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. It totally worked for me and for all the people that played this game so far that I spoke with. Everybody was kind of taken away by the way how this game immerses you. You feel like you are on this planet. Was this like your goal?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I got in the games industry because of like Doom, Doom and Doom 2.
Yeah,
Um,
obviously.
where when I played that, it was like, I was like sucked into the world, right? I was like in the moon base Phobos blasting the aliens. And so when, with VR, like my goal always, or what I thought, VR should be was to be able to kind of really use it as like that teleportation device to really pull the players into the world and pull them into this universe of whatever a creator would want to make. And so when I was focusing on Eclipse, it was really important to have all our kind of mechanics, our story, all our different kind of tools to really pull the player into the world and really make them think about themselves being there.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's kind of what we had planned and and designed for.
All right. So basically, when you started the game, this was what you set out yourself to achieve with this game, yeah, to suck the player in.
Yes, yeah, to pull you in and kind of have it feel like you're there.
Yeah, exactly. And how would you say, what kind of tools did you use to achieve that kind of feeling?
I mean, it's obviously like the variety of a lot of different kind of tools as a game creator has. From the visuals to the sound to the story to the music, and to the obviously the mechanics, the controls. So all those things we really have to think about each detail in order to kind of make sure that one thing doesn't stand out or breaks that immersion, right? And so ideally we push to scrub out like all the small kind of like things that would remind you like, oh, I'm playing like a game. So it's very important to kind of like identify those things through playtesting and then find out what people are getting, what they're not, and then hopefully steer to the right direction where people are going to be able to really understand it.
Cool. So how does it work with playtesting? Do you have like dedicated play testers who are only there to play your game?
No, that would be nice, but no, we just kind of like pull like friends and like family in and
Okay.
just different people to come and check it out and try.
Got it. So then afterwards you will just sit together with them and ask them, okay, what was good, what was bad, and then you will tweak the game accordingly.
Yeah, like what I usually like to do is just like watch them play,
Okay.
and then just start taking notes, and then obviously do like a Q&A after and figure out what they found, worked, or like, oh, if I saw them like stumbling here, why were they having problems? Like, I'll have my own kind of ideas, and then I'll ask them, and then usually there's some more insight there.
Got it. So, based on this kind of play session, what kind of thing did you take out, for example, that you thought is awesome, but then you found out, oh, it doesn't work?
Oh, I mean, I don't know, countless things. Like VR's being so new, like you
Yeah.
think something might work, and then it just doesn't work at all, and then you got to like try it again, and so I mean, there's like different revisions to the story, to the presenting the tone of the messages, to the puzzle designs that need to get cleaned up, or platforming elements. You think a jump works, but then it doesn't. So all those kind of like things that most people run into.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I felt like it felt so flawless when I played it. I couldn't find big tweaks, even though I was playing it like 1 week earlier, and it felt like so perfect. Are you like a perfectionist with your games?
Yeah, I mean, in the past, I was able to work on a really great franchise, God of War at Sony Santa Monica. So I wanted to kind of hold the torch high and keep running with that kind of level of perfection and quality and craftsmanship that we are used to, I guess, delivering and creating for the players. So I've worked with now like Section Studios on the game, and they were the visual development house, and they made all the art. So Cecil Kim used to be the art director, or the creative art director for concept on God of War, and then Matt Arrington was another God of War, um, another former Sony Santa Monica guy that came over and did all the programming. And we also had like Mario Levine, who did the sound design. So having the team with all that experience and all the years of us working together, worked out well, because it felt like, oh, we're just doing it again.
Okay, got it. Yeah, so just one more AAA game on your list.
Yeah, this one was more, well, it's definitely challenging in different ways, but yeah, I'm glad it seems like it's working out.
Yeah, absolutely. Really cool. So, what I was wondering, like Eclipse looks really stunning, and I was wondering how can you make this kind of game happen on a mobile VR device? I was thinking like, oh, is how can this be possible? Because it runs so smoothly, and like, did you have to cut lots of corners, or it doesn't feel like you did? So I'm wondering how can you make it happen? And was it a huge challenge to make the game look like it does on a mobile VR device or mobile VR
Yeah, I
platform
mean,
like
it
Daydream?
was yeah, it was definitely a challenge for sure. But we used like a lot of the techniques of from like PlayStation 2 days. So a lot of it's funny, like I first worked on God of War 1, which was like PS2, right? And then God of War 2 was on PS2, and then God of War 3 was on PS3. So that was like 7 or 5 years, or I forget, of working on that. And so a lot of the techniques for the Pixel, or for all these Daydream type of devices, they're still very applicable. So a lot of the techniques that we use from the PlayStation, you can kind of bring over. So there's a lot of tips and tricks and like old school techniques that maybe some of the newer game creators don't know, or forgotten about, that we were able to kind of like bring back and use it to deliver the high quality visuals. So it's a lot of like pre-planning of like levels, and like, all right, we're gonna do this the shot here, then we're gonna need a hallway here to turn things off, and then go to another room and make that like spectacular. So um, you gotta like really kind of like pre-plan, and then be able to execute, and then create like a system to kind of like turn all the visuals on and off.
Okay, got it. So your experience in the old generations helped you a lot for making this game on this new device, which again somehow is a new start for mobile VR. Cool, very
Yeah.
cool, nice, good to know. And then overall, I'm wondering how long did the development take you for this one?
So originally I started just by myself working on it, And then I pitched the idea to my buddy over at Section Studio, Cecil Kim, and he really liked the idea, like just high-level concept. And so then we began to work on an early prototype and a demo. And so then I was pretty much the only designer and programmer on that. We did that for like 3 months, and then Cecil's crew, helped me out, and we made it was basically the moon level, the moon demo, where the moon comes at you.
Yeah, I love this one.
Yeah, so that was our original demo. And then after that, we started working on it in September until now.
September of 2015 or
That was like, when was that? That was that was actually September of 2014.
2014?
And then we finished it by finished it by December of that year and showed it off the second or third VRLA. And then for a while I didn't really work on it and did some other stuff. And then in September of last year of 2016, we began full production on it, and then released it here in April.
Okay, cool, great, interesting. Now, lots of people in the community, in the Daydream community, wonder how did the game make it to Daydream? Because before it was meant more for as a PSVR title, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, originally we had it working on a DK2, and then we brought it over to the PlayStation for the PlayStation experience, I believe in 2015. And then when I heard of Daydream and it being like a very high quality mobile device, I also thought that was another great platform to bring it to. And so for now we're just focused on Daydream, and but Sony has a great headset. I mean, they're all great headsets.
Yeah.
I just love VR in general, so I want everyone to be able to succeed, and hopefully in the future we can bring it to all these other platforms so more and more people can play.
Yeah, that makes really sense. I was thinking like this is so good, like one of my favorite games at all. So anybody should be able to play it no matter what kind of headset they own. However, I think Google, they should really try to keep it Daydream exclusive to sell more of their own stuff and to make the Daydream platform more exciting. So
Yeah.
probably Google will make you an offer that you cannot that you have to accept. Let's
Yeah,
see.
we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, let's see. So I think the guys at Google, they also have already recognized that this game is incredible. So oh, interesting. Okay, cool. So basically, you made it for anybody with VR, right? So basically, you want to have as many people playing it, and that makes so much sense.
Yeah, I mean, we work so hard for the player to have fun. So ideally, we want to like bring it to all the platforms. But for now, we're just focused on Daydream.
Okay. Can you perhaps tell us like how long this exclusivity will be?
Right now, we're just focused on Daydream.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say.
That's all you can say.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair enough, of course. Well, for me it's fine since well I'm
Yeah, well,
talking
you're the
about
Daydream
Daydream.
District guy, so.
Exactly, I'm the Daydream guy, so I'm very happy that you chose Daydream, of course. Incredible. And actually, I wouldn't have thought that this kind of game is possible on this device. So, do you think you have maxed out already now what's possible on this mobile VR platform right now with the specs as they are now, or do you think there is more possible, or that's it?
Oh, no, I think there's a lot more possible, actually.
Already? Wow.
Yeah, some really cool stuff that Google's been working on with the renderer system that had a lot of really nice techniques that we could probably make it even look a lot better.
Wow.
And obviously, once we like start to dive in and figure out where we made mistakes and learn from those, I think there's always a area and a room for improvement.
Okay, cool. Great. Looking forward to that. So, how many people did you need to make this game now? You said like, okay, probably the development took like 1 year for full scale development. Like, how many people did you need?
So it was myself, and then we brought on Matt Arrington, who's the sole programmer, and then I also brought on 2 junior designers, Greg and Kirthy, and then we had a writer, a sound designer Mario, the writer was Ross, and then Andrew Parlow did the music. We had Cecil doing the art direction, and so Cecil's company, they're a like visual house, and they also do their own game development. So then, as we kind of needed different artists, we would kind of like tap their resources. So, if we need tech art, or rigging or characters, we'd ask them. Or, Cecil is like an amazing concept artist, so he would draw these beautiful images and give that to the environment artists to build out. So I guess I'd say somewhere around 10 or 12, and then like mainly like 6 or 7 like full time.
Cool. So, but let's go back to the very beginning. You probably had the idea. So when you first had the idea, did you already have this kind of story in mind, or did you just think, okay, I'm gonna make a VR game that's gonna suck people in and then put them on a planet and explore something? Or did you already have this kind of idea for the story in mind? That you kind of, yeah.
You mean like a story for the game the game that you played, or like more of like the world?
No, this game, Eclipse.
Okay.
With this story.
Yeah, I mean, I originally had like kind of like this weird idea about the story early on, and then I kind of had a different idea that I was running with for a while, and then when we started working on Daydream, I kind of brought back the old one and then reinvented it with the writer Ross Berger, and then we came up with kind of the new flow and pacing, to kind of like fit within our time constraints, and then yeah, I was just really focused on really making this a rich and kind of like new story. I kind of think of Eclipse as like a Twilight Zone or like an X-Files kind of like planet, right, where multiple people can kind of get sucked in over time, and so this is the story of this one person like yourself who gets pulled in this time.
Yeah, exactly. So how does it actually work to work together with this kind of writer? You meet him and then you tell him, okay, I have this idea, now make a cool story out of it, or you would
Yeah, I mean, well, Ross and I have been working together for like a few years now, and he'd written for a bunch of like, different video games. He was a lead narrative designer at Microsoft Studios and worked on like Law and Order episodes, and so he's very gifted within his craft. And so for me, I'm not a great writer. I'm just a kind of more game designer. Think of like all these ideas and like creative direction. So it was good to have someone there to kind of like help me focus some of these ideas and really come up with some great lines. And so we would work together on the kind of like high level like arcs, right, of the story, and sit down and just kind of like I guess almost like storyboard every like moment, right, throughout the game, and figure out like the pacing and where we're going to kind of like introduce different moments. And then I would go back and work with the designers on thinking, okay, like here's a kind of like high level vision, and where we're going to bring in these different mechanics. How do we design the levels to have peaks and valleys of pacing, and you don't make sure like each element's hopefully utilized in a correct way, and get some reuse over time. So yeah, it's kind of like creative direction, high concept, work with the writer, cycle on these ideas, and then give it back to the team and start to develop from there.
Cool, very interesting. So you would really sit down and design the levels, like where they are, where the stuff is in the game.
Yeah, I built out like first like a paper map. So like do like or just drawings first off, and then I would take that into like a paper map, was what the design term is, I guess, and then pre-plan like all the levels, and okay, we're gonna have a hologram here, and we're gonna do the puzzle here, and all that, and then you can kind of like cycle on that for a while, and then take that into 3D. So then we used tools like Pro Builder in Unity, and then I would just build out like the high level layout of the area, right? And then get it to all flow and be correct, and then work with the designers on filling those parts in.
Okay, cool, very nice. So you're using Unity to make this game?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, so then it will be very easy to port it to everything.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah, that is very good. That is good. Yeah, I think this game would have even been good as a 2D game before the VR area, but now with VR, it's just so beautiful that you're really in there. That's incredible. Great, great. Um, Perfect. So, could you tell our viewers what is the difference of making a game for an indie developer in an indie development studio like yourself as compared to working for like Sony for making God of War, for example?
Sure. I'd say it's very different, but obviously having some of your old, friends and that had been through the trenches with you at Sony kind of made it also familiar. So it was, it's there's a lot of it's mainly about like resource challenges, and in God of War, you would have hundreds of people sometimes all working on the game together, and so with this it was much more kind of like smaller team, so it's easier to kind of communicate in some areas, but then you also don't have the kind of big production like machine behind you to really kind of fill out ideas or do everything that you want to do. So you kind of have to kind of like choose your battles and pick the moments that you think are going to work well, and then kind of like work with inside of the constraints of the resources. So
Okay, got it. So it feels a bit familiar because you still work with the same people, but then you don't have this huge machine behind you. But
yeah, I
this
mean,
should give you a bit more freedom as well, right? Since you don't have this kind
yeah,
of
I mean,
pressures.
yeah, you definitely have your more freedom, and then but Sony was also very great with us creatively. We get to do pretty much whatever we wanted to do. So I think the freedom was still there. It's just kind of like more of like the amount of resources, right?
Of course.
And 200 team compared to 12 or whatever we were is a huge magnitude of a difference. So it's yeah, so it just kind of like changes your production cycle and kind of mentality a bit, and all the crazy things that you could think of, you can't really do as much anymore.
Of course. That makes sense. And then I would like to know how you personally got into this whole game development. How did you get into your career? Was it always your dream to make games?
Yeah, ever since I was like played Doom way
All
back in
right.
like 1993, I guess I knew I wanted to be a game developer, and so I like I said earlier, I loved how like Doom pulled me into the world and immersed me. So when I saw like VR being like this new frontier and this new medium, I bought like the DK1 and bought the DK2, and
Yeah, me too.
um, I was, blown away by it. So seeing that how this machine could kind of like immerse you and make you feel like you're flying, or make you feel scared, or make you feel these kind of emotions that are new. I wanted to kind of like really get into that as well. So yeah, it's always been kind of like my goal to create worlds and to immerse people in them, and have them kind of get lost in these places and forget that they're playing.
Got it. So does it mean that you will only do VR games from this point in time? Is 2D off the table now, or will you ever develop a 2D game again?
Never say never, right? But for now, I'm focused on like VR, and also like really interested in AR. That will be coming up in the next few years, and so I think there's so much to explore with VR that I'm just kind of fascinated by the unknown, and like enjoy the challenge. So for now, we're going to be kind of focused on that.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. So now that you have just launched Eclipse Edge of Light, what is next for you? Are you working on another VR game right now that you could talk of?
No, right now we're just resting. So we're just taking a break, and
Yeah, of course.
trying to promote the game out, get it out there to everyone. And I can't speak of any future plans as of now.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Now, yeah, it's good to focus on Eclipse. I think so many people have yet to discover this, so I'm really happy
Yeah,
that I can help a bit with that
yeah.
because
Thank you.
it's
I'm
really
still learning all
awesome.
the PR stuff being an indie, so that's another whole job.
Got it, got it. So now there's a lot of viewers that are also interested in becoming a video game developer or getting into this kind of industry. What would you suggest those viewers? How can they get into the industry? What should they study? What kind of stuff should they learn? Should they send you an application?
Sure. So I think if you're wanting to get in the industry, like, this is a time that's like easier than ever, right? I mean, you have the internet, which has like everything that you could ever want to learn on it, as long as you're motivated to do it. So downloading tools like Unity or there's hundreds of tutorials online. I mean, I pretty much after Sony just got on YouTube and started learning how Unity works and how to start coding and do lighting and all these types of tutorials that are out there. So it's either something that you can kind of learn on your own, but for me, the route I went through was I went to USC and graduated in computer science there, and also took one game design class, and now they have a full-on program, right? So I think USC is like the #1 game design game creation school in the world. And so that's another fantastic path. And we've, also hired some students from White Elk. We hired one student from DigiPen who turned out great. So you can kind of go down that road. But, if you also just want to like fire up YouTube and download Unity, there's no barrier of entry for that.
Okay, cool. If I'm interested in video game development and I learn a skill like Unity, for example, and I'm good at it, or if I'm like a good designer, in the industry right now, is it easy to get a job in one of the game studios?
Well, it's always hard to break in, right? So, I mean, obviously, like, knowing people is the best. So, make sure that you're kind of part of an active community. Make sure that, maybe you're on some forums, speaking with people, or going to different events and trying to meet with different developers is always an get in. But I mean, if you're able to make something that's like fantastic and on your own, or even it's not 100%, but as a developer, I see like some potential in things, right? Even if they're not like the most prettiest or polished or things like that. So those are the kind of things I look for with like younger developers and seeing like what's the potential here, and what can they end up kind of doing in the future.
Got it. And in terms of where you are located, like, is it important that you are like in the States, in the Valley area, or are there some kind of hotspots where you should be, or does it matter? Doesn't it matter at all?
Obviously, like I think like tools like Skype and Slack and all these kind of distributed teams, these tool sets make it easier for you to be wherever you want. But like what I was saying earlier, with like connecting with people, it's I think important to kind of like be in some of these major game dev hubs. You're gonna have probably a higher probability chance of meeting people, right? But then again, like online, you can still connect with people. So I would say maybe in the past it was much more important, but now over time, as we all become more connected through the internet, it becomes easier and easier.
Got it. Okay, great. So now we're getting more close to the end of the interview, and I would like to ask you, what was your very first VR experience?
I guess it would be Virtual Boy and like Blockbuster.
Wow.
Blockbuster Video, like way back in the day. I think
Yeah.
first VR, I got to try that, and I was like, oh, this is crazy. They had like tennis or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I can't remember what the tried with the latest gen was. At Sony, we were actually like Thomas Miller, one of the programmers, had taken one of the Move controllers and strapped it onto one of the old headsets, and then put God of War on it.
Oh, cool.
And so that's one of the also special again. And I was like, wow, this is like incredible. Here we are in the world of Kratos and God of War. So that also opened up my eyes to seeing like the potential again.
Nice, perfect, cool, great. Yeah, this kind of wraps up this short interview. I would like to thank you for your time, and definitely everybody who's watching this interview and who has not yet downloaded Eclipse Edge of Light, go and download it now. It's an unbelievable game at a very, very cheap, in my opinion, price point of $8.99. So everybody has to download this game, one of the best VR games that I have ever played, and you can play it on Daydream VR right now. Is there anything left that you would like to tell the Daydream community?
Yeah, just thank you for having me. I really appreciate the time to do this interview. And yes, please, everyone, I hope you enjoy it. And yeah, and yeah, have a good time playing.
Awesome. Perfect. That's the perfect words to end this interview. And that's it for this episode of the Daydream District Interview. It was my utmost pleasure to speak with Jonathan Hawkins, the creator of the incredible Eclipse Edge of Light and the God of War series. If you haven't yet seen my review of Eclipse Edge of Light, please do so now here, and then afterwards go and get the game. You can get it for $8.99 off the Daydream Play Store, and again, it's a steal. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to Daydream District yet, do so now. Keep on daydreaming and see you in the next video.